In today's episode, we're traveling back to 2013, to arguably one of the most intense times in our gaming lives, where she picked the PS4
and he picked the Xbox One. The 6 games that I picked really are the ones that I felt like defined that gaming era for me on the PS4. A lot of these games came from previous series that were on the PS2 and the PS3. So really, when I look at these games, I can see that the reason I picked the PS4 was just continuing some of my favorite series. And since I played on the PS2, I played on the PS3, it was natural progression to choose the PS4.
For me, it was a little bit different because I also had just gotten my Xbox 360 in 2011. I was expecting to go to the Xbox One because all my friends were still playing on Xbox 360. It was just kind of a given that we would all go to Xbox One and continue to play multiplayer games or the next Halo, the next Gears, that kind of thing. So for me, it was an easy choice. I wasn't really pitting one against the other. I was just more or less, my friends are there, and that's what we're gonna do. So that's why I'm excited to talk about these 6 games that I picked, because by the time I got an Xbox One, they were games that I was excited to play. So as I mentioned, I didn't jump on the launch day edition, all the launch games. That wasn't until much later. But I did wait until 2014 because I was looking for a specific console that I wanted and a specific game that I was incredibly excited to play, and probably a game that I hadn't really played, or the type of game that I hadn't played before. And that game was Sunset Overdrive. And this is the day one edition right here, which I didn't get right away because the console that I bought had this game, but it was a download code, which was kind of a sign of things to come until I realized that actually Xbox One did release a lot of physicals as well. But yeah, I didn't get this particular physical until much later, but I did get to play it, of course, as soon as I got the console. I remember I was so excited. I installed the game right away. It took forever. I don't know, it just wasn't as fast, I guess. But yeah, I remember it taking a while. So what I loved about this game, and I've talked about this game in other videos, but I haven't actually explained, other than saying it's a fun game, you know, and I can definitely go into more description on why I like this game. The whole game revolves around sort of like combo moves. You're not supposed to touch the ground. It's more like the floor is lava in a sense. It's kind of funny because you die very quickly if you're just walking around and treat it like any other third-person shooter. But it's all about just traversing, grinding on different things. You know, if you have top of buildings, you have railings and wires, you know, like power lines and stuff like that. And you can unlock so many fun weapons that, you know, do kind of require you to upgrade them before they really get powerful and really fun to play. But once you get there, it's just a ton of fun to play this one. And even back in the day, I remember the multiplayer was really fun too. It was a little bit unusual as well, and I probably use that word quite a bit for this game, but that's the best way to describe it.
For some reason, whenever I've watched you play this game, it makes me think of 2 games mixed together, and I could be totally wrong, but this game to me looks like Saints Row meets Jet Set Radio Future. I don't know why.
Well, a lot of people actually said the reason why they love this so much because they love Jet Set Radio Future. And they kind of reminded them of that game because they hadn't, I think since the Dreamcast and obviously the OG Xbox, there hadn't been a game like that. So I think that's probably the closest you would get. So if you like that kind of game, and then you like third-person shooting and some stylish combos and pretty awesome weapons, then yeah, I can now understand, yeah, you referencing that a lot of Xbox people like that game. And then, you know, I did like the sense of humor in this game too. It was kind of like a fourth wall where it's, you know, it's kind of talking to you as well and making fun of tutorials, that kind of stuff, right? So it's just one of those games, if you have an Xbox One and you haven't played Sunset Overdrive, and I mean, this should be at the top of your list, you know, it's pure fun. That's all. That's what games should be, in my opinion. And, you know, I didn't pay too much attention to the story, really, you know, other than the energy drinks and the zombies in a sense. But once you unlock the weapons and upgrade them, and it's just a ton of fun. It's a ridiculous game and very unusual shooter. And I think everyone should experience this game.
Sometimes I feel a little bit like a broken record with this game because there are so many in this series, and I feel like I've mentioned it in probably every video that we talk about PlayStation just about. I mean, it was in the PS2 video, it was in the PS3 video, and now it's going to be in the PS4 video. But this is the first game that made me want to buy a PS4, and that is Disgaea 5. And like I said, if you watched any of the others, you would know that I'm already I'm a very big fan of the Disgaea series, and this is number 5. So yep, it didn't stop. It kept on going. And the Disgaea games are pretty much, like they have a lot of the same concepts, the same type of gameplay element, but they have new stories, and they're always like, kind of quirky stories and stuff. But I think that's what I like about it. It's this like really like serious, deep game. I mean, these are like incredibly deep strategy RPGs. And I think for me, one of the reasons I love the Disgaea series is, like I said, it seems kind of accessible from the outside. We've got colorful characters, we have these like kind of goofy storylines and stuff. And yeah, you have these printies that say dude all the time. And so it seems kind of silly, but then it's super deep gameplay. You have item worlds, and item worlds is literally where you get to dive into any item. We're talking a sword, it could be a piece of gum, it could be ABC gum, which has already been chewed gum even. So that's gum that you already used in a battle, but now you have the ABC gum in your library as well. And so you can go inside that item, which creates worlds inside of the item. And as you complete that, you level up the item. So obviously leveling up ABC gum is going to be super not beneficial, but if you level up a weapon, that is going to be beneficial. But in the beginning, it doesn't really seem like that's something that you need to do, and you don't need to do it. But as you want to build your characters up, as you want to take on harder levels in Disgaea, you do need to start maxing out all of those things. Like you need to start maxing out your characters, which we're all used to in RPG, but now we also have to max out our weapon, max out our gear in ways that, I don't know, you just don't see this in any other strategy games to me. So Disgaea is definitely like a standalone strategy game. And I think that's why they're able to keep on going, keep making new Disgaea games in the series. I think, a lot of people love the Disgaea series because it is just a game you can put in hundreds of hours into and keep on going, and you can keep having a lot of fun with this one. This is obviously a very strong example of like a game that was only on the PlayStation at that time. And this was a type of game that you couldn't find on the Xbox console, you couldn't find on a Nintendo console. This is a PlayStation game, and it's where these types of games, these types of JRPGs, these types of strategy game lived at the time.
Well, this game for me was, well, not just for me, but for a lot of people, this was major hype. And we know that this developer takes forever to make games, but when they come out, I always say this, they're always next gen. They represent the next gen or the whatever current gen we're in better than anyone, in my opinion. And that game that I was excited about was Quantum Break. And this is by Remedy, who are behind Alan Wake and Max Payne, two of my other favorite games and series as well. This was actually one of the games that I jumped from the 360 to the Xbox One because I wasn't playing on the Xbox One full time, even after I got the console and played Sunset Overdrive. I was very selective about my games. But Quantum Break, I just couldn't wait. This was like day one for me as well. And we have to remember this was also before Game Pass. It was not like I could just jump on Game Pass and play these games. But this was a day one purchase for me. And of course it came with Alan Wake, a digital copy of Alan Wake here with the DLC. But I had already played that on the 360, so that's not why I bought the game. But it's a nice little bonus if you bought it new or pre-ordered the game. But Quantum Break was one of those games that was, like I said, heavily hyped at, I believe, E3. Because remember, 10 years ago, we had E3 that was giving us all the cool trailers, not like each company individually or the Game Awards, so whatever's going on now. This game changed so much because when I first saw the trailer for this game, it had a totally different like main character, and eventually it turned into Shawn Ashmore from, I think he was in X-Men at least. I mean, he may have been in some other shows and movies as well, but I just know him from X-Men at least from the younger generation of X-Men. What really is unique again about this game is that whole TV show immersion with the actual game. And we probably all remember what Xbox One was trying to do at the time, was to mix in the whole TV and the games and all that stuff, which obviously when you look back at this game, it probably would have worked a lot more if that whole messaging had actually worked for Xbox. But naturally they had to go back on their word and change everything. But you know, this game was probably already in development. That's what they decided to do. And a lot of people found it very jarring to have the show break up the gameplay, and it just kind of felt like it disrupted the flow of the actual game. And I was kind of on the opposite side of the fence there. I actually quite enjoyed the little break from the gameplay to actually watch a show. It had a ton of like top class actors in there, and I really enjoyed watching the show. And whatever dialogue choices you made in the show as well, it could affect your gameplay and whatever happened next, in a sense. So that was really cool. But then you also had the actual game, of course, was a third-person shooter. But this game had really awesome powers that you had. Like you could freeze time. You could have like some sort of bubble that you shot bullets into and then kind of zip around the whole battlefield in a sense and strategize really how everything was going to happen. And then you can unfreeze it and kind of see where the bullets went after that. And yeah, really awesome game. I think this is one of the most underrated Xbox games by far. And since this didn't come out on PlayStation, most people talk about Control because that came out on both consoles. So this one is heavily overlooked, but without Quantum Break, there wouldn't be a Control. Like, because the powers and the gunplay is very similar in those two games. But this was one of the games that made me just kind of drop what I was doing, play on the Xbox One, and I wasn't disappointed. I still am not disappointed in this game, and I think overall, I understand why some people felt it was a little bit weird with the TV show, but just the way that it affected the gameplay as well, and how it made it more immersive to me, at least. So I thought it was a really cool way of telling a story. And you even saw in Alan Wake 2, they sort of did the same thing there, you know? So that's, you could see that they're kind of coming around and using all of the previous experience that they've had with these games. And like I said, the Remedy universe is the most fascinating. I love that developer. They make the best games, and Quantum Break is up there for me, absolutely. And then before we move on to PS4, I wanted to show the Steelbook because, you know, after all, we are a game collecting channel as well, not just gamers, but I did get the Steelbook that came out around that time. So it's very similar to the front cover of the standard one, but it's still a very neat one to have. And then obviously it has all the actors from the show and the game itself. And then it had the download code for Alan Wake and the 2 DLCs, which, I mean, if you haven't played Alan Wake either, that's a must play as well, in my opinion. Maximum mystery and horror, and yeah, fantastic game. So again, if you're unfamiliar with Remedy, just play them all. They're all fantastic. But Quantum Break, you shouldn't miss this game.
Well, I have a major hyped up game as well, actually, next up. So for me, yeah, this game I feel like got a ton of hype. And I remember even watching a Good Morning America interview with the main developer of this game. And that is No Man's Sky. All right, so yeah, this game for, I mean, I don't know, years leading up to the actual date that it came out. And definitely the weeks or months leading up to this game, there was a ton of hype about this. I mean, it was about an infinite universe, right? Like this universe that could continue on forever. And you were never going to ever be able to explore every single planet that is inside this game. I mean, that was a pretty hefty claim, basically. so
Starfield before Starfield?
Yeah. I mean, it was a very hefty claim that you were going to be able to explore all these planets and it wouldn't be the same. And you could just like explore this infinite universe. So obviously, I pre-ordered this game. I was like, wow, I have to know. Like, I obviously had a feeling that they weren't going to be able to live up to the claims that they were saying. When this game came out in 2016, I would say yes, it was like a disappointment at the time because of all of the hype that was around it from all of the claims that they were making. I think people were a little bit let down, a little bit disappointed with how flat the game felt, and it just didn't meet those expectations that we had. It's not that it wasn't an infinite universe. It was about how it ran. It was about just how the game felt. It's about what we could do on the planets and whatnot. But what I think is cool about this game and why I'm actually really happy that I have this like first edition of the game is that they continued working on the game. They've released so many patches for this game. They've released so much. I don't even know actually if it's DLC, if it's more just like those free DLC type patches, but they've added so much to this game that now they have actually built a really strong community around this game. And now I hear about so many people that really love this game. And I actually really love hearing about the stories where people that played it back in 2016, yeah, they weren't like overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, this is an amazing game, but somehow they kind of like stuck with it. They believed in it. When I first maybe got this game, if we were to talk about this game several years ago, I probably would have just said this was a disappointment. But now I'm like, hey, way to go Hello Games for like sticking with your vision and continuing to build it. And maybe for a lot of people that bought this back in 2016, and if you haven't really followed much up on this game, you might think that this game probably died back then and it was just a disappointment. But no, they really have. They continue building this game even to today. I remember hearing there was a recent patch for this game that people were super excited about because it added even more to the game, basically. So no, I mean, I want to actually go back to this game and try it again because it's been years since I have played it. So I'm pretty proud that this was a game that brought me to the PS4. I do know that this came out on other consoles, but it was exclusive to the PS4. And I do actually think it came to PC, but it was like a couple months later or something like that. So it did come to the PS4 first. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it was PS4 first and then later released on PC and other consoles.
I remember that time actually because I was also very interested in playing this game, but since I was on Xbox One, it didn't come out until I think 2 or 3 years later.
I think one of the funny things for me with this game, and maybe one of the reasons why I was so interested in it, is because Hello Games before this made a game called Joe Danger, I want to say is what it was called.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was kind of like a, what's his name, Evil Knievel. It was like a take on that whole Evil Knievel, the person who sits inside of a car, right? And they do these crazy stunts inside of a car, and you're making this Joe Danger guy do these crazy stunts in a car. And then they come out and say, we're gonna make this infinite, procedurally generated universe for you all. And my mind was like, that's quite the jump.
Literally quite the jump. I know the Joe Danger because it was on 360 and PS3, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if it was a show or something like that. But yeah.
I don't think so. I think it was just a game. But yeah, that's what really made me interested. I said, wow, if you guys can pull this off, I mean, go from Joe Danger to No Man's Sky, I will be incredibly impressed.
And I'm staying in 2015 for the next few here, and this one was actually pretty well hyped as well. Especially when I played the demo at PAX. If you don't know what PAX is, it's Penny Arcade Expo. It's kind of like just an expo for gaming, and back then it was much bigger than it is now, I would say. And they had a lot of AA, AAA, all the big studios were there. And of course, Microsoft were there to promote one of their biggest IPs, original IPs, and that was Ori and the Blind Forest. This is the definitive edition. I actually played the original Ori and the Blind Forest. That was, in my opinion, a little bit harder than this one because it didn't have fast travel, and I don't think it had the bash or the dash ability at the time. So, and I know you played this one later on, of course. It also came out on Nintendo Switch, but not on PlayStation at all. And before I go into the actual game, I want to share a short story from the aforementioned PAX there, because I probably stood in line for an hour and a half to 2 hours just to play the demo. And if you're standing in line, you can see people playing still. And by the time I got to the front, I had seen the whole tutorial. So I was like, I'm not interested in playing this. And I remember the guy asked me, what do you want to play? Do you want to play the beginner or the advanced? And of course, me standing there all day, basically. And I'm like, yeah, no, I've seen this tutorial. I'm just going to go straight to the advanced. And I got my ass handed to me for the 10 minutes I played this, and it was so difficult. It's essentially like when you're I think going up the mountain or whatever, and they just like all the lava shooting, and it's like that's the most difficult part in the game, basically. And I was like, yeah, you know, I was humbled that day, and I was like, yeah, I'll just stick to the tutorial next time if they ask. And as you know, since you played this game too, you play as Ori, who's kind of this spirit creature trying to restore the forest to what it once was and cleanse the corruption in a sense. And you meet a lot of very loving, lovable characters, and it's a very emotional story as well. I think we sometimes forget that it's not just a Metroidvania, you know, it's just you are, yeah, deeply connected to the people in this forest, and besides that too, like this is a pretty difficult game as well, and that's what I found out pretty quickly, especially from my time with the demo at PAX, but just actually playing the game, I found it very interesting that I actually didn't like this game at first because, you know, and I probably blame the Metroidvania style because I didn't quite like that, knowing, or not knowing, I should say, that I had to unlock different abilities and powers and stuff that I needed to progress more efficiently. I learned to appreciate this game and just take my time with it, unlock the appropriate powers, and not be, you know, in a sense, frustrated by getting lost or not having that particular ability to get to the next area. But looking back at my time on the Xbox One, this was one of the most standout experiences that I had. But it's absolutely one of those rewarding games that once you learn the game and you get through all those difficult parts, then it's so satisfying in the end to play a game like this. And fantastic story, fantastic gameplay, and a really good exclusive for Xbox at the time too. And, you know, for me, it was one of those games that made me very excited to play it on that console.
I remember watching you play the original version of this, and it made me very happy that I played the enhanced one because, yeah, the fast travel made a big difference for sure. But I also do remember, like, in the beginning for this game, it did feel a little bit, I don't want to say like a chore, but it was so difficult, right? You're really pushing yourself. But then once you did start unlocking more of the areas, unlocking more of the abilities and whatnot, I remember towards the end of this game is really where it just like clicked for me. And I remember falling completely in love with this game at that point, once the whole world was open to me and I was doing kind of like what you might call cleanup in a sense, right? Like finally just going to all those areas that you saw along the way, but you couldn't quite get to it at the time, but now you have the ability to finally get to that thing. Like it was so satisfying. And then I found myself almost not wanting the game to end because I was enjoying like exploring that world with all of my abilities finally opened up to me. It just felt so good. Like this game, yeah, super memorable for me as well.
It's funny you should say that because that's when I actually started liking the game more. When I did the collectibles and the backtracking in a sense where you uncovered the whole map and you actually could sort of see where you had the secrets that you hadn't uncovered, and that's when I really started liking the game, kind of the post-game cleanup. And you know, whether you're an achievement hunter or not, you know, it's just those things to me are worth exploring and experiencing as well, because just finishing the story, you know, there's just so much more to it, and this is a prime example of that. And then again, before we move on to the PS4, also have a steelbook for Ori that may not be as common. I think this was a gift from you to me, and it's this beautiful steelbook right here. It's kind of like a silvery, and obviously has the artwork that is kind of similar. It's instead of the mountain, it has the spirit tree in the back here, and then this is a PC steelbook. So even if I wanted to put an Xbox One disc in here, it still has the PC on the side. And then on the back here, you have Ori, just stands out with the silver background. And, you know, it's kind of funny to see this because PC gaming isn't really known for physical media, you know? So I think this is really neat to have. This is a very cherished collectible that we have here. And 2 discs it looks like, and a bunch of stuff in here actually. It has a poster and a quick start guide, and yeah, this one's amazing. So if you ever see this one, I recommend getting it, even if it's on PC. You know, if you are a collector of of these things, then this one is an amazing steelbook.
One of my favorite steelbooks we have in our collection because, yeah, it's just so beautiful. I feel a little bit silly having this one in this video as well because it was also in our PS3 video, but I still have to mention it because it was one of the first games I played on my PS4. So that is Persona 5. This is the steelbook version of the original Persona 5, meaning it's not royal. And so I think this is a cool steelbook for sure. It's just like more black, white, and red, or I guess black, white, silver, red. But it looks different than the royal one. So I wanted to show this one, but otherwise this version of Persona 5 is pretty much identical to the PS3 version. Just kind of got like some graphical upgrades to it basically. One of the reasons I made it the first game that I played on the PS4 is because I didn't finish the game on the PS3, but you could carry over your save data from the PS3 to the PS4. So I figured, why not finish it on the PS4 with, you know, better graphics and whatnot. But I didn't know they were also going to release another version of Persona 5 that would have some additional like DLC and content added to it. And that was Persona 5 Royal. And I think this one was brought to many different consoles. I think we even have this like almost identical steelbook on the Xbox One as well. So Persona 5 Royal definitely got, you know, like many different versions of it. But I actually played this one on the Xbox One. I don't know if I should say that, but ooh, you know.
It's okay, there's no console war, so yeah. it's all good.
So I did play Persona 5 Royal on the Xbox One, but I played the original Persona 5, started on the PS3, continued it and finished it on the PS4. Persona 5, obviously a pretty iconic RPG at this point. I think this is one of their biggest Persona games that they've ever had. I mean, this is number 5, so there's obviously other Persona games before this. I have played all of the Persona games since the PS1. I have always been a big fan of the series, so it's no surprise that Persona 5 would be a game that I would, you know, highly look forward to, and pretty much, yes, buy all the different versions of it in a sense, right? Like I want to experience it as much as I can. So like I said, since this is such a iconic JRPG across many different consoles, you know, but some people, if you don't know about the Persona series, what draws people into this game, or I think like one of the favorite things about this game is kind of the mix between going to school, making friends, managing your school schedule, your after school activities, you know, how you are in class and stuff like that, mixed with going to battle at night and making those decisions. You kind of have to make a decision. Are you going to study that night? Are you going to go on a date that night? Or are you going to go into the dungeons and battle and level up? You do usually have some time constraints on you. You usually have to beat a boss by a certain date, which I can't think of too many other RPGs where you can say, you have to beat this boss by, let's say like May 31st, for instance. That's your target date. Now you can spend your time studying and doing whatever you want. You can, that very last week, go and do your best to level the hell up and make your way to that boss, you know, in that last week. You can do it early if you want to and spend the rest of your month just dilly-dallying about town. It's kind of a weird game like that. You get to make it what you want. You do have some goals that you have to get to, but how do you want to reach those goals, you know? And there's also even school goals, you know, you might have finals and there's like midterm type things that you might have to study leading up to it if you want to do good. Do you want the rewards for that? Also, there's characters that you can like befriend and become closer friends with, possibly date them. And a lot of that can depend on things like your studies, like how are your grades? You might not be able to meet certain people unless your grades are high enough. So you are kind of balancing a calendar, you're balancing school, you're balancing typical RPG type stuff going on. A lot of time the bosses are either versions of the characters you're going to recruit into your party, or it might be like a boss that's like, it's related in some way to a lot of these characters that you're meeting along the way. You meet the darker side of people. And I think that's like such a cool concept that I believe that's influenced many animes. I think it's influenced many RPGs, JRPGs, or just RPGs and stories in general, that you're finding the darker side of people. It's like the alternate side of people. It's the side of yourself that maybe you don't show to the rest of the world, or you don't really want to talk about, but that's what comes out of you when it comes to this Persona universe. And I think that's such a cool concept, because not just you get to see that darker side of that person, it's about loving that person completely and wholly for like exactly who they are, knowing their dark side, and you still want to be friends with them. And I think that, I don't know, that's like, to me, what makes Persona series so special is that character dynamic and also the world. I mean, I guess I could talk so much about Persona, because also I love the fact that you can talk to the monsters in these games, you can recruit the monsters, become friends with them, you can fight them. And that's something you see across not just the Persona series, but also the Shin Megami Tensei series. I feel like it's even stronger in those games. So obviously, Persona 5 was a game that I had to get on the PS4. It's a game that will make me go to any of the PlayStation consoles. If they tell me Persona 6 is, going to be only on the PS5, or heck, I doubt the PS6 is coming anytime soon. But if they said that was going to be the, game that was only going to be on the PS6, I'm going to buy the PlayStation 6 just to play Persona 6, because I have to experience all these games. I think they're always quality JRPGs for sure.
This one shouldn't come as a surprise to most Xbox owners, because it is really one of the reasons why we even play on Xbox. And when this was announced, I was very excited once again. It's one of those times where around 2015, 2016 was peak Xbox One, and to be fair, also PS4. But I jumped on this one, pre-ordered. I even got like a collector's edition, but I guess I don't have it out right now. But that was Halo 5 Guardians. And after I'd played Halo 4, actually, I was very excited about this. And that's coming from someone who has played Halo since the very first one. And I know the changes that the series has gone through. And I think I'm just one of those people that I'm not too concerned about the multiplayer, the no sprinting, the sprinting. Is it too much like Call of Duty? I just want these games to be enjoyable. I just want to play these games in co-op. And Halo is, to me, besides another series, of course, on Xbox, is just kind of the quintessential co-op experience for me. And this one even had like 4-player co-op as well, which I didn't play it in 4-player co-op. I played in like 2-player co-op, but that's obviously more than enough, of course. But again, since Halo 4 as well, which I quite enjoyed the story there, then this kind of continued in similar fashion to that, versus to some of the older Halo games by Bungie. This obviously by 343, and or they're called Halo Studios now. So whenever we get any new Halos going forward, it'll be Halo Studios. But this gameplay was more or less like, I kind of hate to say this, but it's more Call of Duty-like than the older Halos, where the sprinting, some dashing, sliding, all that kind of stuff. So it's more modern controls. But, when you look at something like the Xbox One at the time, that was just, again, showcasing the capabilities, fantastic graphics in this game. And not to mention that this one is still stuck on Xbox One. This is the only place you can play it. So Halo 5, just like Halo 4, it's just a lot more fast-paced combat. And oddly enough, I feel like I was better suited for the multiplayer in these games too, because I don't really play a lot of multiplayer. I'm very selective about what I play. But Halo 4 and 5, I enjoyed it, not to say anything bad about the older Halo games, because that's where, it's peak for everyone else. But I enjoyed it to where I felt like I was good at multiplayer. And naturally, if you feel good at something, you want to play more of it. The main character you play as is Spartan Locke, but you do have some missions as well playing as Master Chief. But essentially, he is searching for Cortana and you're trying to find Master Chief. So it's this whole rigmarole in the whole story. And you're also fighting the old Covenant enemy while you're also fighting the Prometheans as well from Halo 4. So yeah, I can understand there's a lot going on in this game, but I still thoroughly enjoyed this game. And if you liked Halo 4, you will most likely like Halo 5 as well. And besides, I think anyone who had an Xbox One at the time or thought about getting an Xbox One, you were buying this for the multiplayer and for the co-op experience. pretty much why I always play the Halo games too. And, you know, the story may have changed, but I still think it was very enjoyable as well.
I don't play the Halo games, so I guess, do people, are people actually turned off by the story? I mean, are the stories like a driving point for Halo? I always thought it was just like the multiplayer and the co-op, but were people upset about a story not being as good as the previous one?
People are very invested in the Halo universe and the continuity of the story, and especially Master Chief, Cortana, that relationship right there, which I thought they did a phenomenal job with it in Halo 4, although the gameplay changed. But this, you kind of had a different type of story where Cortana is a little bit weird and she believes AI should control everything, which is kind of where we are right now, I feel like. But I remember when Halo Reach came out, which is one of my favorite Halo games, it was kind of the same reception where, oh, you're not playing as a Master Chief, then I don't want to play that game kind of thing. So it's just a little bit weird, but, you know, people have strong opinions about Halo, but I think it's a great game to play on there, regardless of what everyone said about it at the time. I think it's going to be one of those games that you'll appreciate a lot more, especially since you can only play it really on Xbox as well. It wasn't released anywhere else. I think this is one of the most overlooked Halo games, and whether you do it in co-op or solo, then yeah, I very much recommend Halo 5 Guardians.
You just had a game that had Guardian in the title. Well, I have a game also that has Guardian in the title. So this one was a game that I was waiting for a very long time, and a lot of people were. We thought this would come to the PS3, but nope, it came to the PS4. And that is The Last Guardian. This was I guess it was a hyped up game, but I think it was more like a long awaited game. This was a game that we knew was in the works. This is the same developer that made Eco and made Shadow of the Colossus. Both those games were huge hits. Those are beloved classics for sure. I mean, people still play those games, still love those games. Those games are amazing. They're PS2 games that still somehow look great. I mean, even by today's standards, they just have an art style that just stands out. This is a pretty hard game to match in the feels and the looks, basically. It's definitely iconic to this developer. So people were very much waiting for The Last Guardian. We thought that it would come out during the PS3 era, and it did not. This kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back to a point to where I remember me and many other people were thinking it wasn't even going to come out. Like, I just thought this game got dropped. I thought that they lost their way and maybe they were never going to finish this one. So it was very disappointing for a little while. And then somehow it got announced again that it was going to come to the PS4. Now, the weird part about this game is a lot of people were actually disappointed when it came out. And I didn't actually play that much of it, as much as I was looking forward to this game. And I hate to admit it, I must have been distracted by other games. And I really didn't play much of this game when it first came out. I bought it right away. I bought the collector's edition even of this game, but I didn't actually play that much of it. And so I was really confused on why people were so disappointed in this game and what made people disappointed about it. And so I actually picked this game up more recently, like in the last year. I actually think this game is really cool. I mean, one of the things that I really loved about this game is your companion, Trico, this like character here that's a very mythical type beast. And I thought it was really unique how they made them seem more organic, like an actual thinking AI being. You can call them and sometimes they come straight to you and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they ignore you. Sometimes they almost seem like they're a little frustrated with you. And I don't know, maybe that may have annoyed some people because maybe they wanted to be more like a tool, right? Like just be like, hey, I called you, come here, help me do my thing. But I thought it gave the game personality. I mean, that's really what stood out to me is how this character, Trico, had a little mind of his own, you know? And it makes you also kind of bond with that creature more because it feels more like an actual living being rather than just like this AI beast, you know, that you're supposed to be working with throughout the game. I think the game still had the similar graphics like the Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. Maybe people I could have seen thinking it should have looked a little bit better since it was on the PS4, but it's still like it's so stylized that I feel like they can get away with these types of graphics, honestly. So I really like this game. I'm really glad that I supported this project in the sense of like I pre-ordered the special edition for it. I'm glad that I've gone back and I played it again in 2026, and I can say that I don't know, I really like this game. I think this is an amazing game, and I feel like people should not write this one off, especially if they have enjoyed Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. Absolutely play The Last Guardian. Also, this game is often really cheap. I mean, you can buy just the regular standard edition of this for under $20. So it's like, why not? I'm sure it's also part of PlayStation Now. I don't know. I haven't checked, but, or PlayStation Plus,
PlayStation Now.
I know. I think they went through a time where they called it PlayStation Now, but I did get the special edition, like I mentioned, and it came with a steelbook. And so since we are showing our steelbooks as well, if we have them for these games, I will show this one. This is the steelbook that came with the limited edition or collector's edition of The Last Guardian. It does have similar cover, but a little bit different there. And let's see, we can turn around. We have this on the back. I like it. Oh, it just says steelbook.com. That must have been the company.
Yeah, they made a lot of steelbooks.
I actually never noticed that.
Obviously, that's their thing, steelbooks.
I know. I was like, I've never seen their brand on this, and it does have a cool spine at least. I always love when they have a spine on them. So. And we have the game. I think it's just a generic disc in here. Came with the collector's edition soundtrack with 10 tracks on it as well. So, nope. And we do have the statue for this also. And we always have the statue out on our shelves. And you probably have seen it in many of our videos if we show our shelves off and stuff.
Since we're still in 2015, which may actually, looking back, have been one of my favorite gaming years of all time. There was a lot of good games that came out during that time. And this was an interesting one because I remember watching E3 and the trailers for this game, and I was more hyped than probably any other game at the time. And Xbox was really pushing this one to the point where I'm like, is this like an absolute exclusive now on the Xbox? And then I later found out it was like a timed exclusive for a year, which was enough, obviously, if you were an Xbox One owner or if you were thinking about getting one. This was probably a game that was worth having an Xbox One for. And that game was Rise of the Tomb Raider. And after playing the reboot on the Xbox 360, and also I played the definitive edition on Xbox One as well, I'm actually one of those hardcore original Tomb Raider gamers. So I played from the very first one in, I think it was like 96 or 97. Loved it up until, the reboot. I actually refused to play it because I was one of those people at the time. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. I was such a big fan of the old Tomb Raider games that I refused to play the reboot for the longest time. And I saw other people play it. They loved it, said like it's one of the best reboots of all time. And it took me a few years. I would say it was probably right before this game came out that I finally okay, I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to try the Tomb Raider reboot. It's very different from the old Tomb Raider games. It still had the essence of it, but it was a little bit grittier in a sense, right? Because she was just this raw Lara Croft learning the ropes in a sense. And I remember they focused a lot on her death animations and stuff too. So obviously you were expected to make mistakes in a sense because she was sort of, young and inexperienced in a sense.
Fearless also.
Exactly. So nothing could stand in her way, right? She still needed to go on her adventures and on her missions. And then Rise of the Tomb Raider came out. And at the time, I kind of expected the same in a sense, because usually they go for that formula. If it works, then, why do we change it in a sense, right? If it's not broken, why fix it? The gameplay was very intuitive as well, just traversing up a mountain or, using your ice pick to grab onto something. And I think the environments were very varied in this game as well. What I really loved the most about this game, then, not just the main story was fantastic, and even like we've said earlier about exploring the game post kind of story completion, That was a ton of fun as well. Just looking for the secrets, your different challenges in each area, you know, just traveling back and mopping up achievements or collectibles or whatever it was. But I really enjoyed the DLC in this game as well. And especially since we later on played the endurance mode together, which was kind of like a survival mode. And then typically, I think at the end, it was like you were attacked by a bear or something, wolves, you know, you never really knew. So I found that to be challenging and a ton of fun as well. It just kind of extended the experience of Tomb Raider as well. And then the other DLCs were great too. So yeah, it's kind of like a complete package in my opinion. You have a little bit of co-op there. You have that classic single player experience with an even better Tomb Raider experience in my opinion. Like I talked you into later on, obviously playing this with me on PC, and then you pretty much did the entire game yourself after that. And it's just one game that I can't recommend this enough. I still think this is the best Tomb Raider of all time. And I try to play this as much as possible. And that's why I have 3 different editions. And at the time, this was one of those games that really delivered for me. And I was ecstatic when I had got my hands on this game and seen how good it really was.
I first played this game on the PS3, or I should say I played the first one on the PS3. I didn't know that it was going to get another one, and as soon as I heard that a second one was announced for this game series now, for the PS4, I was absolutely ecstatic because this is one of my favorite games I played on the PS3, and we got Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom for the PS4. And this is the collector's edition. Again, I got the collector's edition. I tend to do that. If it's already one of my favorite game series or one of my favorite games, I'm going to get the collector's edition. I want all the goodies. Give me the silk posters, give me the record, give me the figures, whatever you've got, and give me the steelbook. So this one also came with a steelbook. I think this one is beautiful as well. I love all the colors in this one. It's just, you know, it's very different also than the original version. And I always appreciate that, right? Put a little bit more time, effort into the steelbook and stuff. So yeah, this one's very cool. It's got the 2 main characters here. Got a really nice, beautiful, hard to capture this, you know, but got the like snake dragon kind of guy here in the middle and stuff. So, and then inside, you know, just got, I think you get some special weapon. We have the Blu-ray disc of the making of, and we have the game, and we have a code for some like special weapons for getting the collector's edition. So, nope, overall, really, I actually bought both the collector's editions for this game. I should say, I'm a little fan, just a little bit, I guess. So I got the UK version because I really wanted the little music box thing that came with that version. I thought they got a cooler version, honestly, in the UK. And then in the US, it was kind of more like this figure thing. It's little mini chibi versions of the characters fighting like a giant dragon. And then like you wind it up and it goes around in a circle, which it's cool, but it's not as cool as the little music box thing that the UK got. So anyways, back to the game here. So Ni no Kuni on the first one on the PS3. It's a combination of Level 5, which is a pretty famous game developer at this point, since they've worked on the Yokai game. They work on the Dark Cloud games. Gosh, they've done Fantasy Life, so many different games. And they got to do a collab with Studio Ghibli for the Ni no Kuni game. So awesome. I mean, so not only do they get to work with you know, the music director, what is it, Joe Hizashi, they got to work with the artists that work on the Ghibli movies as well. So not just the characters look kind of like that Studio Ghibli type of aesthetics, but also all of the enemies in this game look like they're straight out of a Ghibli movie. And that just made this game, oh, just so beautiful, so immersive, and also kind of nostalgic for those of us who have been watching these Ghibli movies since we were kids. Definitely, this is like a game that I think you have to experience if you are a Studio Ghibli movie fan. This is one that you're gonna want to check out. This is an RPG. you may have already caught on, I obviously like playing RPGs, but this is a little bit more of a, again, I like to say accessible RPG. What that means is, to me, is that it's one that, even if you're not a seasoned RPG player, this is a game that you can get into. It's a game that if you were experiencing your first RPG, you could totally get into Ni no Kuni. It would be fine. Matter of fact, I think even if you are a person who likes playing like the Pokemon type games, you like collecting monsters, you would probably like this game as well, because there is a lot of that in this game. You are kind of collecting monsters and, you know, befriending them, and within the battles, which can be really hard for some of these monsters, but you are recruiting these monsters into your party, and each of your party characters can have a monster with them. So again, I think that's like a unique aspect of Ni no Kuni. But in Ni no Kuni 2, one of the unique things about this one versus the last game, which by the way, there's like barely any story carryover from the first Ni no Kuni to the second one. And I thought that was an interesting move as well. So what I think is neat about this one is you are rebuilding a kingdom. So you're recruiting citizens from around the world. You kind of need their specific skill in order to help you like unlock new building, upgrades, and just start rebuilding your city. So you're doing that alongside just all your typical RPG stuff, helping people out around the world, traveling around this world. It is an open world, and you're going to all these really unique cities that have their own type of art and flair and everything, and just different types of characters. I think they did a great job of different culture in each of the different cities too, and just giving you that feel of that. And then you're trying to recruit them, right? And you're trying to bring them back to your kingdom and rebuilding your kingdom. So I think that this game has also just a little bit of everything for, at least for RPG lovers. Like I said with Persona, with that one, you're managing school and you're managing an RPG. With this one, you're managing rebuilding your kingdom, capturing monsters and putting them into your party, as well as just your typical light RPG. So I think this game kind of has something for everyone, especially if you're a Studio Ghibli fan. Cannot be missed. Also, this game was brought later to Xbox One, I believe, right? It was Xbox One, not Series. So just like what you said with Tomb Raider, yeah, I played this game twice. I played it on PS4 and I played it on Xbox One as well. I wanted to get achievements for it. I wanted to experience it again and see what kind of achievements I can get in Ni no Kuni 2. And I have no regrets. Absolutely love this game, and I'm glad I got to play it twice.
Well, 1 year on from the previous 3 games I talked about, another big franchise for Xbox, of course. I've been looking forward to this 4th entry. It's actually the 5th game in the series at the time. And I was looking forward to this. I pre-ordered this game, got the whole collector's edition that I've been dragging around with me everywhere we've moved. It's one of the biggest ones I have. Maybe we'll show it in, a future game room tour or something like that. I'm sure it'll pop up. But the game that I pre-ordered, I was very excited to play, was Gears of War 4. And if you got this one at the time, you would also get download codes for Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3, and Gears of War Judgment. So you had 4 games in addition to Gears of War 4. So it was a great deal. It really was. And this was a great promotion actually for backwards compatibility as well. So this was around the time where backwards compatibility was a thing on Xbox One. And lots of excitement around that too. So like I said, 2015, 2016 was incredibly exciting. But before I go into Gears of War 4 as a game, I want to show what came as part of the collector's edition. So this is the Ultimate Edition, came with Steelbook, and then again, it also came with the 4 games. So I guess I have 8 codes for these games. It's a really big fan, I guess. But what's awesome about this, it came with a little slipcover too, because a lot of Steelbooks don't actually come with slipcover. So I'm just gonna pop this off real quick, and this is actually one of my favorites. This is a really nice looking steelbook as well. It has a cool spine, and then it has the cog at the back there, and then Gears of War 4. And then here's JD Phoenix, which is Marcus Phoenix's son that you play as in this game, alongside Kate Diaz as well, as we'll get to. But yeah, this one came with the season pass, and then also the 4 games that I mentioned earlier. But Season Pass was pretty awesome because it came with all the old maps. So there was like classic maps from the other Gears games that was part of that. And you know, obviously, if you do achievements in Gears games, you know that there's a lot that involves those maps, whether it's Horde or multiplayer. So you'll be playing a lot of that in this game. But going back to one of the reasons why I wanted to get Gears 4, you know, just, and I shouldn't say Gears 4 because that didn't happen until later on. The reason why I wanted to get Gears of War 4 was my prior history with the Gears of War games from Xbox 360. And this was a very different Gears game than the previous ones because of previous events. This is further in the future. So you play as, like I said, Marcus Phoenix's son, JD. So in this game, there's actually a new enemy called the Swarm. So they abduct people, humans, and then put them in these little pods. They're actually pretty big pods. And over time, they evolve into this Swarm. So it's kind of a new enemy they have to take on. And during all of this too, Kate's mother gets abducted. So you essentially have to go and find her, as well as finding Marcus as well. That helps you along the way to find Kate's mom in the end. So I know, you know, it's kind of similar to Halo 5 as well. I know a lot of people had issues with the story and how this unfolded as well. You know, it wasn't as, for lack of a better term, you know, it's very kind of like a bromance shooter, right? Like, I don't know what else to say, but you know, that's kind of how it was.
Masculine?
Yeah, it's a very masculine shooter. Yeah, like a lot of people like Gears because it is just about strong men going into battle, right? Going into war. That's a fact. I'm not making this up. Like, you can go online and look this up. That's why they like Gears. So this one was a little bit softer in some ways. And I didn't really have an issue with the story in this one. Like, I'm notorious for skipping cutscenes anyway. Having played this multiple times, it's not like I sit and study and listen to every dialogue and stuff. Like, I'm more for the gameplay. I obviously know the story in the Gears game. So I usually like to break this game into 3 parts. I think the beginning of the game is a little bit unusual for a Gears game. It's, you know, you're fighting robots and, you know, you're still trying to get to know these new characters. And so it takes a little bit to get going. The middle part of this game is very good. It feels like an old Gears game, in my opinion. And then you get towards the end kind of thing, and it shifts dramatically again, where you're more back to the robots, and then it's just a little bit strange in some ways. But I still think it's absolutely worth playing this game. And, you know, again, same as Halo, playing something like this in co-op is always a good time. But what's interesting about this is that I played the campaign. You know, I played it through. I did a lot of the achievements in this game at the time it came out, or shortly after it came out, I should say. And I actually went back to it maybe last year, a couple of years ago, and started playing Horde. I think Horde in this game is really fun as well. Multiplayer, you can even play against bots. You know, if your lobby is not full, you know, they have different difficulties, and you can play against bots if you want. So you'll still be able to work on whatever you need to in this game. And you can still do ranked and do all the competitive multiplayer stuff too. And so, yeah, I think just Gears is hard to beat in terms of a package deal, you know, because you have so many game modes that will keep you coming back to it. And, you know, I can safely say that I still had just as much fun in this game as I would in the previous Gears games with all the different game modes. And yeah, I've played through the campaign now multiple times, and yeah, I think the gameplay is still solid, you know, great graphics in this game as well. And it was a great showcase for the Xbox One, because this was around the time where Xbox had really taken the consumer a little bit more seriously and started giving us good products as well. You know, like I mentioned, the backwards compatibility and actually having some good exclusives at the time. So yeah, I think if you've had any experience with Gears and then you just got an Xbox One or thinking about getting an Xbox One, I think this is, again, a great addition to your collection and great addition to playing some co-op and some multiplayer and some Horde. So you can't go wrong with Gears. So I approve of this game, and I think it's still a good time.
Also a great value, since you get all the previous ones on there
You
too.
get, yeah, if you buy this, you get 8 codes, I guess. You can share it with your friends.
Is this controller also from
Gears 5.
Oh, that's
yeah,
Gears
that's Gears
5?
5, yeah. So that was a
Okay.
little bit later on, yeah.
All right. When I saw the steelbook, I go, ooh, kind of looks a little bit similar.
Yeah, that's Gears 5. We have Gears 4 as well, yeah, but that's part of the console. So, you know, and I should say that now that you mention it, we do have both the Gears of War 4 console and the Gears 5 console. But, you know, we'll save that for another video.
I'm ending with kind of a different vibe in a sense of like, this isn't a game that like made me want to buy a PS4, but this is a game that brought me back to the PS4 years after I probably thought I was done with it in a sense. Like I didn't think they were going to bring out some killer game towards the end of the PS4 life, basically. But this game comes from 2020, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake. So yeah, I thought I was probably about done with my PS4 at this point, maybe waiting for the PS5 in a sense, right? And then this game was announced. And I mean, this game was announced, you know, beforehand, and I was excited about it and really looking forward to playing this. Final Fantasy VII is, well, I would say it's my second Final Fantasy game that I played, but definitely the one that I was old enough to really get into it and really enjoy it. It, in a sense, I hate saying it's my favorite Final Fantasy, but it's like the one that's most nostalgic for me. So when I heard it was being remade into like a full-on remake, not some HD remaster, I was thrilled. And as you probably can see here on the back, it says not for resale because yes, I got the, I don't know, collector's edition, but this is like one of those smaller collector's edition where it just came with like a little booklet, little art booklet, but also a steel book. Here is the steel book for it. We've got good old Sephiroth here on the cover, just rocking it in some fire. And we have, you know, just on the back here, it's just the game title, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Got a spine on it, some words, and I like that. And I guess I have the other disc inside.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I have the other disc inside the other case. And then in here we've got the play disc. So apparently I was playing out of the steelbook because I just wanted to see this every single day I was playing. But yes. Oh no, it's got the glare. I'm gonna move it over a little bit.
I was gonna mention something before you go into the game, but I think the reason why we say the whole spine and the steel book is because they still have steel boxes in a sense that either have like a continuous like artwork from the front to the back,
or sometimes it's split in the middle.
It's split in the middle, like kind of more like a steel box. So yeah, we always prefer like the steel book in a sense, which is it has a spine with the title and it looks better on the shelf. But I know some people just display them differently, but that's where we have them.
Back to Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite games from the PS1 era. I think a lot of people had a lot of hopes, hype around this game. And I think a lot of people, including myself, thought, how can you remake this game? Also, I'm sure a lot of people are already aware, but this game has like a pretty big plot twist in it. And once you know that plot twist, how do you do that again? Like, how are they going to go about it? And I think so many people, including myself, were really intrigued about how are they going to pull this off, okay? I think the amazing thing about this game is that they remain very true to the original while still innovating on it. It does have more like action time battles. You are fighting in real time and you are pulling off your moves all in real time. So I think that's definitely better for a lot of newcomers. I think that newcomers to RPGs these days would probably feel pretty weighed down by the whole like time-based battle systems. You're waiting to make your move and stuff like that. And so this one's definitely more action-based, and I think that's gonna bring in newcomers as well. Not just the people who love this game back on the PS1, but it's gonna bring in people who maybe have never played a Final Fantasy game. So I thought that was really great. It kept in the materia system, which is actually my favorite part of Final Fantasy VII, and that's the magic system of this Final Fantasy game. And it's not really in any of the other Final Fantasy games. I love the materia system because you can mix and blend things together. You can get really creative about if you want that magic on your weapon, you're gonna have fire damage like on your weapon. You put it on your armor, now you're gonna be immune to fire damage. Also, you can level up your materia. So that means like maybe you're only gonna protect yourself against 25% of fire damage in the beginning, but as you level that up, you can completely void out any fire damage. And I really like that system because I found it to be intuitive, like it was easy to understand. It wasn't too complex, basically, of an RPG, but you could also get really deep about how you mix those together. Are you gonna mix, poison and fire, or, how are you gonna do it? How do you prep for a boss battle? And some of these bosses in this game are really hard. You actually have to like prep your party. You need to strategically plan out your armor and your materia and how you're gonna go about it with these bosses. So those are some of the things that I love about Final Fantasy games and Final Fantasy VII. I think one thing that surprised me about this game, and at this point this won't be a spoiler alert since there's already another Final Fantasy game, Rebirth, is out now, is that I actually thought that this was going to be the entire game. I thought that Final Fantasy VII, the entire story, was going to be in this game. However, no, they broke it out, right? And now we're probably going to get like 3 parts, I would say, maybe 4 parts, but we're going to definitely have many more Final Fantasy VII games still to come. And so this first one's actually just the shorter part of the original game. And that surprised me, but I also was like excited. I was like, oh, cool. So they're really actually going to take their time with this. And versus the PS1 version where I felt like that was a small portion of the game, was being in Midgar and making your way out of Midgar, which is this main city that you start off in. That felt like a pretty small section of the PS1 game. That is the entire game of this one. So I really felt like I got to dive in deep into that section and really get to know that city and really get to know the characters that are there. I felt much more invested in it. So I think once I got over my shock, I really loved this game. Like I really was able to go, wow, that was a really great experience. Even if I knew the story, that was a great experience. And now with Rebirth, you get to see, okay, it's continuing on, but with the same caliber, honestly. Like it's the same caliber of greatness that this game had. And I look forward to the next iterations as well. I don't know how many they're gonna drag this out into. I don't know if I should use the term drag because it's not like it's a bad thing. I think it's really great how they're remaking this game. I think this is one of the best remakes in history that we've had. I mean, and I want to see more remakes like this. Instead of people pumping remakes out that are kind of half-assed, this is how I'd like to see remakes be done for the older games. And so I'm thrilled that this is what brought me back to the PS4. Definitely, this was a game that stood out to me when it comes to the PS4 era. I can't not mention Final Fantasy VII Remake because this was a big deal. At the end of the day, whether you picked PlayStation or Xbox back in 2013, you probably had a pretty good time. If you think one side had a better lineup, we're not stopping you from arguing about it in the comments. We'd love to hear what games influenced your decision to stick with that console.
And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave us a like. And if you're new here, subscribe as well. We would really appreciate that. And until next time,
bye!